The school talked of nothing but Sirius Black following his assault on the fat lady. But with their first ever Care of Magical Creatures lesson fast approaching, Harry, Ron and Hermione's attentions turned to Hagrid.
Hagrid doesn't have a normal person's view of what's dangerous.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Let's get to the class early so that we can give Hagrid some support. It's his first lesson and he's probably more nervous than we are.
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. Welcome back to WaterparkRanger's Let's Play Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Last night, we saved Neville from a dreadful ghoul, and this morning the notice board for the lost and found items are refusing to cooperate, but I recommend you hammer the A button in front of it anyway as soon as you start the day, because it works. It's really weird. Like, if it doesn't give you the message for the next lost and found item, you can honestly just hammer the button in front of it, and you'll get the quest anyway, even if it doesn't tell you. If you don't believe me, just keep watching the episode. We're going to run across that item, and it's just going to be there, even though we didn't get it officially handed to us. That's what I was saying about the notice board for the Lost and Found items being incredibly glitchy. It's also one of the reasons I'm really glad that I did some practice running of this game before I tried to LP it. Because there was just so many that was just one of the weirdest glitches to me, and it would have really thrown off the pacing of the LP if suddenly I felt that we weren't able to take any more Lost and Found quests because the board just wasn't working, and then we wouldn't be able to get the house points, and it wouldn't be 100% anymore. But I figured out how to work that glitch, and it's pretty much just you stand in front of the board hammering the A button until it just spawns the item for you on the quest. How will you know whether or not it's done that? Well, you won't unless you go to the location where it's supposed to be. And so far, every time that I've tried, it's worked. So, if you're running into that problem, and you're just like, it's not giving me any more quests for the Lost and Found items, or I don't believe I can get this quest set early, you can, but you can't really get it officially, because the game won't give it to you in words. And I'm not sure if it ever will, so you have to take matters into your own hands, and seek out your fortune. Or your Fortuna Major, as the case may be in this game. One of the things I've noticed, by the way, we're just getting the 7th Dark Forces statue right here, Hookie the house elf. Looks just like Dobby, honestly. But yeah, that's not Dobby, just a house elf that happens to look a lot like Dobby. Coincidence? I think not. But one of the things I've noticed about this game that's pretty weird, and this was going off the Fortuna Major comment from earlier, is that in the last episode, the fat lady is replaced by Sir Cadogan. Now, Sir Cadogan is another talking portrait that actually you can find as early as, say, episode 1 of this LP. He actually is the portrait in between where we get our first Birdie Bots Every Flavor Beans. He's a knight who's really, like, hot-headed and stupid. And see what I mean? Here's the Lost and Found item that we were trying to get earlier from the board, and it didn't give us a quest in words, but we got the quest anyway, so we have the item, and we can hand it into the board. And if you bring the item back to the board, typically it will accept it. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you try to bring it back to the board, it just won't accept this item right now. Like, you can't get it to accept the item until a little later, so just bear with me and remember that we have the Owl Post Parcel because it'll crop up again in a later episode. But yeah, the deal with Sir Cadogan is that he's a knight you can talk to in this game, and I rather like his character. But I've been thinking recently about that weird voice clip that Snape says when he sounds like a pirate. Someone pointed out in a comment on that episode that he sounded like a talking portrait. And in retrospect, I've gone back and played this game again, and Sir Cadogan, when you go to talk to him in his own portrait, occasionally he'll just say, like when you're running past him, "Avast, you scurvy blackguard!" And it's literally the same thing that Snape says in the classroom, so I don't know whether that's a coincidence or not.
Gee up there. Meet Buckbeak. Beautiful, isn't he? Now, the first thing you gotta know about hippogriffs is they're proud. You always wait for a hippogriff to make the first move. It's polite, see? You walk towards him, and you bow and you wait. If he bows back, you're allowed to touch him. Harry, Ron, Hermione, who wants to go first?
There was no way for you to tell this because I cut it out of the LP, but before and after the cutscene you just watched is an obnoxious load time. And yeah, it's just really annoying, so I really do feel like attacking Hagrid is justified in this case. I'm also going to use Lumos Dew on him, which if anything is the spell that Hagrid hates the most.
casting spells. No, stop it! Stop casting spells. No, stop it! Stop casting spells. Stop casting spells.
I honestly don't know why that bothers him so much. Light isn't even, like, tangibly a thing that can hurt you from that wand. It's supposed to make ghosts solid. Hagrid, are you a part hinky punk? And so, yeah, the reason that the Hippogriff kicked Ron was not because I was casting spells at it. It's simply because even if you try to, like, bow to Buckbeak as Ron, Buckbeak will always kick him. He'll never let Ron on.
Well done. I expect you'd like to fly him. Right, catch as many as you can. You'll need to give Beaky a bit of a run before he can get airborne. Then just fly at the bats, and Beaky'll do the rest. Go on, then.
So this is your first chance to ride Buckbeak, which is actually pretty fun. As far as I know, I'm pretty sure you can only do this as Harry, but maybe that's not the case. I know that Hermione can also ride Buckbeak, but I just happen to be in control of Harry, so he'll be the one doing this challenge. It's fairly simple to control Buckbeak. I used to have a problem with this challenge, but it's really simple. You just press B to fly, kind of like with Hedwig, but fortunately Buckbeak is a bit more precise than Hedwig, despite his size. It makes it fairly easy to go after that crowd of bats. What you gotta do continuously is press the A button to brake, and as long as you're holding it down, you can just turn around in the air without, like, hardly even descending at all. And the bats are pretty easy to pick out because they're surrounded by this gray haze of good game design. I know that sounds like an odd turn of phrase, but that's pretty much exactly what it is. Because those bats would be nigh impossible to see with these kind of limited graphics if it wasn't for that gray haze surrounding them. Of course, they do get harder and harder to catch the smaller the crowd of bats gets, which actually I would liken a lot to the boss battle against Boolossus in Luigi's Mansion. I think it's pretty funny how, like, that battle against Boolossus has come up now at least twice in my LPs. If not more, it might have come up again in Kingdom Hearts, because there were a lot of weird bosses in that game when I LP'd it. But yeah, what I wanted to bring up about Boolossus is that I feel like this challenge runs off what I like to call the Boolossus principle. That the battle just gets harder the smaller the enemy gets. Like, there's a lot of small ones, but it's just the last one that's always the toughest to get, and that is definitely the case for this challenge. That last bat, it's really finicky about how you grab it. Now, like, getting a good score at this minigame, and by the way, the score is not tied to your time, it's tied to whether or not you get, like, X number of bats. It is not important at all, but I wanted to get the highest one possible, so I'm gonna get all the bats. Including you, finally. Suddenly we're not on Buckbeak. I didn't even edit that.
That was amazing. You really know how to handle him. I'd say that was an A+. Good work.
Give me a go at that thing. This'll be easy. You're not dangerous at all, are you? You ugly great brute.
Malfoy, no! You're not dying, it's just a scratch.
Harry made his way to the Quidditch match, unaware that events that day would take an even worse turn. As the Gryffindor team struggled against the weather, Harry caught sight of a giant black dog high in the stands. An eerie silence fell across the stadium, and a horribly familiar wave of cold swept over him. Dementors swarmed over the pitch, and with his mother's screams ringing in his ears, Harry fell from his broom and knew no more. Harry slept restlessly in the hospital wing, sinking into dreams full of clammy, rotted hands and petrified pleading. He could hear voices whispering, but they made no sense whatsoever.
Ron? Quiet! I know where Sirius Black is. He's down in the dungeons. Follow me! Ron?
Now we're going to do another part of the story that I'm pretty sure wasn't in the books. No, it definitely wasn't in the movie. And if it's original content, then I actually really like what they did with this part.
Take that!
Yes. Oh no.
So here we have a boss battle against Peeves. Unlike the other previous fight where you kind of just fight a book he throws at you, you're fighting Peeves himself. He's a little tougher, but fortunately I have a winning strategy against him. Ron acts as a very useful human shield during this battle. He can't move due to the ectoplasm that's blocking his feet. Unfortunately, Harry's forgotten OxyClean, so we can't just set him free. Or rather, fortunately for us, because like I said earlier, Ron makes a very useful human shield. He's throwing those pots at him. That's Peeves' only attacks, to occasionally throw that pot. It's better if you just stand, like, roughly behind Ron. And, like, this is good enough. This, where we're standing, even though it looks like the pot should hit us, it will always just hit Ron instead. Peeves has a very predictable pattern. What he'll do is, he'll fly off, he'll fly again in with a pot, then he'll throw it. After he throws the pot is when you want to target him with Flipendo. It's very simple. Otherwise, your spells just won't affect him. I'm also sure that because I have Dark Force's Flipendo, I'm able to finish this battle a little bit more quickly than I should normally. It's kind of a test of patience and annoyance. But also, it's kind of interesting because Peeves does have a song that he's saying riddles to, or like a poem. Because Peeves is always known to do that. Even in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Peeves is still doing that. It's just like his thing. And, like, Peeves' poem, I have the lines written down somewhere. At least as many as I could decipher, so I might share them later. And they kind of reveal what's going on. Obviously, there's more to this weird circumstance than meets the eye. But enough about that, we just gotta keep bringing him down. I should also mention that if you stand behind Ron, and you let him get hit by too many pots, he can actually die, and if Ron dies, you have to do the whole Peeves boss fight over, so there's really no point in letting it get that far. Yeah, his life meter's already, like, close to halfway depleted, but we won.
Ron, about Sirius Black.
He's in the dungeons. Come on.
One of the things I like about this part of the game, although you can't really hear it because it's just so quiet, there's this ambient music that plays during this section, which is really good. All the music in this game is, as far as I know, is composed by Jeremy Soule, who also did the music for the Chamber of Secrets game. And although they aren't all, like, super memorable, it is a really good soundtrack. Though it's kind of tough to find on YouTube. It's there, though, I'm sure of it. Now I'm going to see if I can find that poem, and just read you the lines as we're following Ron. This is the poem that Peeves is singing during the boss battle. Weasley, Weasley, are you going to cry? You're starting to panic, I think I know why. Your secret's not safe now, I'm in on the joke, and I'm dying to see your plans go up in smoke. Weasley, Weasley, you're in a state. I'm having such fun, this really is great. You'll be here for hours, you'll never break free, and wee Potty Potter will never catch me. Weasley, Weasley, what can you do? Caught in a... I don't even know. Stuck up with glue. Your friend Potty Potter's in hospital too. I'm having a laugh and the joke's all on you. That rhyming is just so Peeves.
Ron, what are you doing? We can't take on Sirius Black on our own.
Come on.
Interesting change of tone there. These statues are very easy to sneak by. Very easy.
Psst! Look! We've got to get Professor Dumbledore!
Oh, you shut up! He's in the corner! Go on!
Ron? Apologies, Potion. I think we're even now. Perhaps I might mention that I saw Sirius Black drag you off into the night. Good night, Ron! How did you know where I was?
Peeves! He couldn't wait to tell someone what Draco was up to. I brought your stuff, including the Marauder's map.
Interesting turn of events, right? For now, it's mischief managed.